What is going on, you guys? My name is Justin, but you can call me J Swag, and welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Swag. Appreciate you stopping by, giving a listen, and hanging out with us here today. We're doing a special lunchtime episode, and I'm trying to go live on Instagram as well, but I don't know if it's working or not. Um, hmm. Let's do this. Let's back out. Let's try this again. Live. Go live. There we go. I'm now live. All right, so we're now live on Instagram as well. So, yeah, we're trying something else out, something different here. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we're trying a couple different things out. So we're doing a little lunchtime episode. It's currently 12:02 p.m. on Wednesday. Typically, we like to go live on Wednesday nights, closer to around 7 p.m., but I figured I'd try something different. And yeah, we're also trying to go live on Instagram and see what happens there. So if you're just joining on Instagram and you don't know, I have a sports podcast called Sports Talk with Swag, where I talk about whatever I want sports. So while we're here, let's just get some things out of the way. Make sure you follow all those social media channels. Instagram and Facebook are Sports Talk with Swag. Twitter is STWScast. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because we go live there and then post the video of every episode. So if you like more than just audio for your podcast, we have the video for it as well. But if you are just an audio person, you can head over to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, anywhere you get podcasts, and you can find this very show there as well. What else? You can send an email to sportstalkwithswag@gmail.com for any topics you want me to cover, any questions you have, any comments you have on the episodes, whatever you want. I am here, and I will read all of them and respond accordingly. But yeah. So today, we are focusing on some wrestling. We're focusing on WWE Elimination Chamber, which is coming up this Sunday night at 7 p.m. Yeah, so as we always do for each WWE pay-per-view, we kind of give predictions for each match as well as a little bit of context and backstory and preview for the matches and just for the pay-per-view overall. So without further ado, let's just kind of hop right into it here. There's only 5 matches on the card so far. Granted, 2 of those are Elimination Chamber matches, so those are probably going to go 45 minutes to an hour each. So that's going to be a big chunk of the night right there. But one of the matches, I don't even know if it's going to happen or not. And I'll get to it when you'll see why when I get to it. But yeah, it's Elimination Chamber is always this one and what's the next one? Fastlane are always the 2 pay-per-views that are just the weirdest for me because it's in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So it's like it's build up to WrestleMania, which is their Super Bowl, and you're coming off of the heels of the Royal Rumble, which is a lot of people's favorite pay-per-view, and it kind of kicks off the WrestleMania season. So it's typically, for me at least, tough to get too invested in them. Well, not too invested, but to see much changing or anything big happening at them because you're in the build up to WrestleMania, and at this point, you're trying to solidify all of the storylines, all of the feuds, and everything. And so, for instance, have at this point, Drew McIntyre drop the WWE title on this pay per view. While it would be a great swerve, and obviously is a big change, and it would create a lot of buzz and excitement, it also, you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot with all the buildup you've done with him and leading into WrestleMania as your one of your top champions. It's a bold move, and so typically they don't do it, and so I don't typically expect much change in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. That being said, though, you never know what could happen. But Yeah, so like I said, let's just hop right into it here. Starting us off, again, this is not in any particular order. This is just how it's listed on Wikipedia. We don't know what the order of the matches is going to be. But starting us off is Drew McIntyre defending his WWE Championship in an Elimination Chamber match against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, and Sheamus. Now, I guess probably one of the biggest notes for this match is that we know that Sheamus will be entering last into the match. So for those of you unaware, the Elimination Chamber matches themselves, if you haven't seen it, you should definitely Google a picture of it so you can see what it looks like. But it's the ring is surrounded by a massive structure that's made up of like steel, like chain link, basically. And then there's 4 pods basically at each corner of the ring. And essentially, 2 people start. It's totally randomized. So 2 people start in the ring as a match, and then I don't know how. I think it's every like 5 minutes. Someone in one of those pods is randomly selected to join the match. So we'll start off with 2 people. We don't know who that's going to be. And then it'll randomize, and then someone else will come in, and then 5 minutes, someone else, and then someone else. And then the last one we know is going to be Sheamus because he won a match. He won the gauntlet match on Monday night to win that spot. So we know that's going to happen. And we know as well that Kofi Kingston won a match on Monday night. He beat The Miz, so he is in the Elimination Chamber. So we know for now that he's in the match, but a lot of people are thinking that maybe Ali will, at some point, probably before the match, attack him and then basically take his place in the match, because we know that 2 years ago, Mustafa Ali was supposed to be in the Elimination Chamber match, but he unfortunately got injured leading up to it, and Kofi Kingston got to take his place, and that is kind of what really kicked Kofi Mania into gear and led to his eventual winning of the championship. And just their whole storyline and back and forth is kind of leading a lot of people to think that that is the case and that's what's going to happen. So I wouldn't mind that at all, because I think you're a little bit backing yourself into a corner with putting Kofi in it. I mean, I don't think anyone's really expecting Kofi Mania to happen again, but you're allowing yourself to feed into a lot of that hype. When I don't think they have any plans of that happening, especially again. I would not be surprised at all if we see Ali replacing Kofi in this match, and I would love to see him get a good rub and maybe even make it to like the final 2 competitors. But we'll see. And I just need to check something here real quick on Instagram, so pardon me. Let's go here real quick, and let's go to display, auto lock. Oh, well, we got to turn low power mode off. Maybe that's what it is. All right, we'll see if that fixes it. All right. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so that's how I feel about Kofi in the match. And then another thing, too, that a lot of people are curious about is if The Fiend is finally going to make his return. So for those of you who don't know, I can't remember the last time they actually like had a match or whatever, but The Fiend and Randy Orton have had a back and forth, and then they had a Firefly Inferno match a couple months ago where Randy Orton lit The Fiend on fire and killed him, whatever. Burned him alive, and so that's the last we've seen of The Fiend, and that was a couple months ago. And since then, there's been some really great segments between Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss, and obviously it's all leading back to The Fiend eventually making his return. We don't know when. A lot of people think that may happen at the Elimination Chamber on Sunday night, with essentially at some point the lights going off and then them coming back up, and the Fiend is basically replaced Randy Orton in his spot in his pod. I think that'd be really cool. I would love to see him come back, and I would imagine they're probably heading towards a match at WrestleMania, if I had to guess. Unless they decide to do Edge versus Orton at WrestleMania, but I don't know if they'll put the title back on Orton at this point, especially since this feud is still going on with the Fiend. But we'll see. But yeah, I would like to see the Fiend make a return, but I don't want him to actually like be put into the match because you're not going to have him win the match, and you're not going to have him like get pinned by someone in the match. So maybe just have him pop up like in Orton's pod with him and just like attack him and beat him senseless and then kind of throw him to the wolves kind of thing. And then he's just pinned right away. I wouldn't mind something like that. But yeah, we'll see. At the end of the day, overall, my prediction for the match is Drew McIntyre to retain. I think he's going to keep the title because, again, I don't think it would be wise to have him drop it at this point, this close to WrestleMania, especially when there's a lot of speculation that Brock is basically going to return to have a rematch with Drew at WrestleMania for the title. So we'll see. I don't think Jeff Hardy's going to do much. He'll probably do like a swanton off of the top of one of the pods, and then he'll be done. My guess is that the last three is probably going to be McIntyre, Sheamus, and Styles, if I had to guess. But again, I just don't see them putting the belt on any of these guys, especially given this timing. Even if it was like, even if this was at WrestleMania, like or whatever, I still don't think they take the title off of Drew at this point to drop it to any of these guys. Yeah. All right, yeah, so that's that match. So next up on the card, and this is the one I was talking about earlier. Next up on the card is Asuka defending her Raw Women's Championship against Lacey Evans. Now, for some of you, you're just like, okay, yeah, that'll be a boring match, and I'm not looking forward to it. But, you know, what's so bad about that? What's bad about that is that on Monday night on Raw, Lacey Evans announced that she's pregnant. And it's not just kayfabe. It's not just in the storyline. That's real. She is actually pregnant. And I just don't, like, this match is still on the card. Like, they haven't announced anything of, like, oh, this match has been canceled, or, like, Lacey Evans is being replaced, or, like, let's hold a battle royale to determine who's going to be the new number one contender and, like, fill in for her. Like, they haven't announced anyone replacing her in this match. So it's like, is the match still happening? Because obviously it's not going to, because she's pregnant, so she shouldn't be wrestling at this point. So it just leaves a lot up in the air. I guess maybe it'll, the thought is it'll be, we'll be on the edge of our seats and we won't know till the last second of, like, what the match is going to end up being. I mean, I'm hoping they still have the match because Asuka needs to be just getting more time and more matches and defending the title. But who knows? Maybe they'll just cancel it and it won't happen. I hope not. My guess here and my assumption is that, unfortunately, I think they may end up replacing Lacey Evans with Charlotte. And if that's the case, then I think Charlotte's going to win. I don't want that to happen. I hope that's not the case. But at the same time, I don't know what else they'll do with this match because the women's division is just kind of in shambles right now. And I just don't know what else they're going to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, all right, so Lacey Evans isn't in it. Who do you have replace her? Obviously, Charlotte is the first person that comes to mind. But then on top of that, or outside of that, it's like, who else have they built up to, like, have any sort of hype for this match? Like, Baszler and Jax are back in the tag title division, and they'll be defending those titles. And I mean, I guess you could give one of them the shot, but, like, again, there's just no build whatsoever. It's just going to be a random match unless it's Charlotte. but there's not going to be any storyline leading up to it. It's just all of a sudden like, oh, she's been replaced by her former tag partner. So at the end of the day, if the match happens, which I hope it does, or a match happens, I don't think like it's going to be Lacey Evans. My guess is it's going to be Charlotte. And if it is Charlotte, I have Charlotte winning. But if it's anyone else, then I have Asuka winning. So I know that's a little bit cheating with the predictions, but I don't really care because there's no rules. So, yeah, my guess is Asuka retains against anyone except for Charlotte. So that's my prediction for that. But again, like I don't even know if this match is going to happen. So anyways, moving on to the next match, which is a triple threat match between Bobby Lashley, Matt Riddle, and Keith Lee for the United States Championship, which is currently being held by Bobby Lashley. So for this one as well, it's interesting to build up. I mean, obviously we've gotten plenty of action and build up between Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley, but Keith Lee's kind of been missing, and they even brought that up in commentary on Monday, saying how he might be injured and he might not be cleared to compete on Sunday night. Now, this means one of two things to me in my head. Either A, he truly is unfit to compete and he just won't be able to, and so they will basically just not. They were saying that on Monday to basically, proactively, prepare us for like, oh, he's not in the match. We told you on Monday he was injured, and now we know for sure he's too injured to compete. It's either going to be that, or they were intentionally bringing it up to create more of an underdog storyline for him, so that you're like, oh, he's too injured, like he may not be able to fight, and then, oh no, he is going to fight, and oh my gosh, he won. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, like, who knows? He probably won't even be able to fight, but then he shows up and he wins the whole match. Like, wow, that's incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter for me if he fights or not. I still have Lashley winning regardless, because at this point, I don't see them putting the title on Riddle. I don't think Vince is a huge fan of his, and they haven't used him super well. And he doesn't, I don't know. I like him. I don't love him. He's just a little too spacey and out there for my liking. I think at this point they still have a good thing going with the Hurt Business, quote unquote, holding all the gold. And I'd like to see that play out. And at this point, Bobby Lashley is the only person with any sort of momentum heading into this match of the three of them. So I think it's hard to see him dropping the title, especially to either of these guys. Obviously, I would not be upset at all to see Keith Lee win his first main event championship. Main roster championship, not main event. But I just don't see that happening right now. So yeah, I have Lashley retaining. I just don't have much to say about this match because outside of the elimination, like outside of the title matches, there just hasn't been a whole lot of build up to these. I mean, again, Lashley and Riddle and the Hurt Business in general have been going back and forth since like before the Royal Rumble. But it's just now finally paying off to a title match on a pay-per-view, and it could be good. I think it could definitely be a good match. There's just not a whole lot of excitement behind it, I guess. So that's that. And then next up is the second Elimination Chamber match, the SmackDown one, which is Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan versus King Corbin versus Cesaro. And the thing with this one is the winner of this match will then immediately go on to face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. So this one's a little different where the title isn't being defended in the match itself, but the winner will then immediately get a match for the title right after. And that was the whole thing. If you watched SmackDown last week, that was announced. So it was originally supposed to be just like Drew McIntyre is supposed to be Reigns defending the title in the Elimination Chamber against 5 other competitors. But then, he and Heyman did some nice legal finagling and fine print usage, and basically said that, Reigns has to defend the title on the pay-per-view, but not in the Elimination Chamber match. So they were just like, the winner of the Elimination Chamber will get to face Reigns later that night for the title. So it's good storytelling. I like it. I'm a fan of it going that way. I'll be interested to see how the match actually goes. I don't know if it's gonna. We don't know when it's gonna happen. So I don't know if it's gonna be at the end of the night we have this chamber match and then it's immediately followed by the championship match, or if it's gonna be spread out. I don't know. So I'm curious to see how they use that match, but I'll get to that later. So in regards to the actual Elimination Chamber match, it's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of good competitors here. It could be a very exciting match. Right off the bat, I don't think King Corbin's going to do much. I think they'll probably eliminate him fairly quickly. He just has no momentum. He doesn't really have anything going on with anyone involved in this match. I like seeing him involved. I do think he's good, but I just think they kind of just threw him in at the last second here for this one. So I don't think he's going to do much in this match. But then outside of that, I do think it'd be very interesting, and they may end up doing this, of kind of giving us a swerve of Jey Uso actually winning the match, and then kind of leading to a finger poke of doom sort of situation with him and Reigns. So if you're not aware of that, essentially what happened is, when back in WCW in the 90s, when Goldberg was the heavyweight champion, Kevin Nash beat him and ended his undefeated streak, won the title from him, and then defended it against Hollywood Hulk Hogan, who they were a part of the NWO at that time. And so they wanted to give the title to Hogan, all this in kayfabe. And so they had the match, and Hulk Hogan just poked Kevin Nash. He fell to the ground, and then they counted 3, and Hogan won the belt at that point. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a similar situation to this, where Uso wins the Elimination Chamber, and in the match, Reigns kind of just gives him a finger poke. Uso lays down on the mat and gets counted 1, 2, 3, and Reigns retains. I don't think they will, because I think that doesn't quite fit with Reigns' character. So, yeah, I'm not sure. But I'm also hoping that Kevin Owens doesn't win as well. That may sound backwards, but I am a huge Kevin Owens fan, and I've enjoyed his feud with Reigns. But at this point, it feels like they may be kind of running it into the ground at this point. So I'm kind of content with it ending. I don't know. Again, they put on great matches, but they've been in a feud since November, I think, maybe even October. And it's one of those feuds where, if in this day and age, if you oversaturate it and you just kind of overbook it, it will get stale. And I just don't want that to happen, because I am content with how it has been so far. And so if they keep it going, I'm worried it would get stale for me. So I hope that Owens has a good showing in the match, but I hope that he does not win. And so at the end of the day, I think it should be either Cesaro or Daniel Bryan. I would love to see either of those guys get the win and the eventual championship match. My guess and my prediction here is Daniel Bryan wins it, to then basically start his feud with Reigns, leading to a WrestleMania match between the two of them for the title. Because regardless, to then basically go into the last match that's on the card of Roman Reigns versus the winner, I think regardless of who wins the Elimination Chamber, I think Reigns is going to retain here. I don't think anyone is expecting someone to beat him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get Daniel Bryan winning the Elimination Chamber match, but then losing to Reigns. and that kind of setting up their feud for WrestleMania. But there's also a lot of talks of potentially Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And so then that would then lead to probably Kevin Owens winning, if I had to guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I do like that it's not predictable. I really do. Similar to like the men's Rumble match from last month's Royal Rumble pay-per-view, it was hard to predict. And I liked that. I liked that it was going to be a surprise to me pretty much no matter what. There wasn't an expected winner. And especially when you throw in the caveat of they will then immediately go on to face Reigns that night for the title, it makes it exciting and interesting. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing how that kind of all plays out. But at the end of the day, I have Reigns retaining the title regardless. And that's it. Those are the only matches on the card. I'm sure that on Friday night during SmackDown, we'll have at least one more match added. Probably we'll see at least one added to the pre-show from SmackDown. I would love to see the tag titles defended. They kind of just like they were taken off of the Street Profits randomly a couple months ago, and now just like Ziggler and Rude, I feel like there's just nothing happening with them. So I'd love to see those defended maybe in the pre-show, or maybe we get the women's tag titles defended in the pre-show, or the Raw tag titles defended, or maybe, let's see. I mean, what's going on with the Intercontinental Championship? Who even is the champion right now? It was Sami Zayn, and then it was like AJ Styles, and then oh my gosh, who's the Intercontinental Champion? I don't even know who it is. Is it someone obvious? Oh my gosh. Who is it? I gotta look this up now. Let's see. Intercontinental Championship. Who is it? Oh, it's Big E. Oh gosh. Oh, that makes me sad that I forgot that. Yeah. He just hasn't done much with it since he won it, which is a shame because he had a lot of momentum behind him. I mean, granted, I don't watch SmackDown or Raw most weeks, unfortunately. So I'm not super aware of what's happening outside of like the main event major storylines. But yeah, let's have Big E defend the Intercontinental Championship. I would love to see that. Although I don't know who he would fight because he's not really in a feud right now because Sami Zayn is in the Elimination Chamber match. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm sure we'll see at least one more match added to the main card and then probably one or two for the pre-show, if I had to guess. But overall, again, it's not going to be too packed because they've been slimming down their pay-per-views, which has been really nice. So it's not like 4-hour shows every week or every month. And then on top of that, I think with a pay-per-view like this, where you have two Elimination Chamber matches, where again those are going to last close to an hour, you don't want to add too much outside of that because those are the main attractions. So those will probably take up majority of the night. So it's going to be an interesting pay-per-view. Yeah, I normally I'm relatively excited for it because they're exciting matches and there's usually either a number one contender or a title up for grabs, which both of those are true for this night. But like I mentioned at the top of the show, it's just always weird in between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Typically not a whole lot changes, and it's kind of just time to settle into a lot of storylines and feuds for WrestleMania. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if any titles drop. I don't have any predicted to drop, so we'll see how we do with that. And as per usual, I will be posting my predictions on Facebook and Twitter on Sunday afternoon before the pay-per-view goes live. And then Monday morning, I'll be posting my results. But yeah, that's kind of it for the episode today. A relatively short one, but I like to, not keep you guys too long. But yeah, so again, make sure you're following all the social media channels. And yeah, that's kind of all I have for you. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.